No species survived the venomous hatchlings until the human built them a terrarium. The emergency council convened in the sterile chambers of Station Nexus 7, representatives from 12 species arranged in their respective atmospheric pods. The air crackled with tension as Admiral Zephyros of the Altarian fleet addressed the assembly, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the harsh lighting. The Vexari hatchlings have escaped containment on Kepler 442b, he announced, his translator, rendering the clicking sounds into universal standard. Preliminary reports indicate total ecosystem collapse within 72 hours. A collective shudder rippled through the assembly. The Vexari were legendary, ancient predators whose young possessed venom so potent it could dissolve molecular bonds. No known species had ever survived their bite. Entire civilizations had fallen to accidental releases throughout galactic history. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lone human representative, leaned forward in her modest chair. Unlike the others with their elaborate life support systems, she wore only a simple breathing mask. How many hatchlings are we talking about? Approximately 3,000, replied Zephyros. The research facility's stasis chambers failed during the quantum storm last week. They've already consumed every living organism within a 50-kilometer radius and show no signs of slowing. The Thraxian delegate, a massive insectoid with gossamer wings, buzzed anxiously. The standard protocol is orbital bombardment. We cannot allow them to spread beyond the planet's surface. Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber. It was the only logical solution. Sterilize the entire world before the hatchlings could mature and reproduce. Several civilizations had made that terrible choice before. Wait, Dr. Chen interjected, raising her hand. Has anyone tried relocating them instead of killing them? The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Krell of the Hegemony, a towering reptilian figure, let out a harsh laugh. Human, your species' naivety continues to astound. These creatures are death incarnate. The very air they breathe becomes toxic. Their waste products can corrode starship hulls. But they're still babies, Sarah insisted, pulling up holographic data on her tablet. Every species has environmental requirements for optimal development. What if we're not giving them what they need? Admiral Zephyros's compound eyes fixed on her. Dr. Chen, with respect, the Vexari are not Earth puppies. They have wiped out entire biospheres. The Andalite homeworld still bears scars from an outbreak 3 centuries ago. Sarah stood up, her movements causing several delegates to instinctively recoil. Humans had developed quite a reputation for their unpredictable nature. Give me 72 hours. Let me try something before you glass the planet. Absolutely not, Krell hissed. The risk is what? Sarah interrupted. They're already contained on one world. If my plan fails, you can still proceed with bombardment. But if it works... She paused, looking around the chamber. If it works, we might save both the planet and the hatchlings. The debate raged for hours. Eventually, curiosity overcame caution, the same dangerous trait that had made humans such peculiar allies. The Council granted Sarah her 72 hours, though several species quietly moved their fleets into bombardment positions. Sarah's ship, the Persistence, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Her crew consisted of herself, her AI assistant Marcus, and 3 environmental fabrication robots. As they approached the quarantined planet, she could see the expanding dead zone where the hatchlings roamed. Marcus, begin scanning for geological data. I want to know everything about this planet's mineral composition, atmospheric density, and magnetic field strength. Dr. Chen, Marcus replied in his precisely modulated voice. I feel compelled to remind you that your suit's environmental systems will provide only 6 hours of protection against Vexari toxins. Then we'd better work fast. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. Instead of viewing the hatchlings as monsters to be destroyed, Sarah approached them as displaced wildlife. Her research into Vexari archaeology had revealed something the galactic community had overlooked. Their homeworld had been a high-gravity, sulfur-rich environment with intense magnetic fields. Working frantically, Her fabrication robots began constructing what appeared to be an enormous terrarium. But this was no simple enclosure. Using the planet's existing volcanic activity, Sarah created a specialized habitat that mimicked ancient Vexar Prime. Higher gravity generators, sulfur springs, and electromagnetic field generators all worked in harmony. The real breakthrough came when she discovered that Vexari venom wasn't actually a weapon. It was a waste product. Like many Earth animals, they were simply poisonous as a side effect of their biology. In their proper environment, beneficial bacteria would process these toxins, creating a sustainable ecosystem. As the deadline approached, Sarah stood at the edge of her massive terrarium, watching through reinforced transparent aluminum as the first curious hatchlings approached. They were beautiful in their own way, iridescent scales shifting through prismatic colors, delicate wing-like appendages that would someday carry them through their homeworld's dense atmosphere. One by one, they entered the habitat. Within hours, the change was remarkable. Their aggressive behavior diminished. The deadly toxins that had poisoned an entire continent began to be neutralized by the carefully introduced bacterial cultures. The hatchlings settled into natural social groups, their venom production decreasing to normal levels. When the galactic fleet arrived, expecting to find either total catastrophe or a human corpse, they instead discovered something unprecedented. Dr. Chen stood in her makeshift laboratory, monitoring 3,000 Vexari hatchlings thriving in their artificial environment. The death zone was already beginning to show signs of recovery. Admiral Zephyros materialized via hologram, his crystalline features reflecting disbelief. "How did you know this would work?" Sarah smiled, pulling off her breathing mask. "On Earth, we have a saying, there are no bad animals, only bad environments. I just gave them a better home." The implications rippled through galactic society. Species that had been written off as inherently dangerous were suddenly candidates for conservation rather than extinction. The human approach, stubborn, illogical, and utterly compassionate, had once again defied conventional wisdom. Years later, when the adult Vexari had established their first off-world colony in a properly designed habitat, they would speak of the small human who saw past their deadly nature to their fundamental needs. In their complex chemical language, they called her something that roughly translated to the one who builds homes for the homeless. But Sarah preferred the simpler designation her colleagues had given the project. Just another day of being impossibly, irrationally human.